Good evening, students. I am Rohit. Today we have to start with the new topic, that is the state legislature. However, on the board you will find that different topics written, Supreme Court and High Court. Okay, so actually first of all we will complete the remaining portion of the parliament. See, in the last class, because of internet issue, I was not able to complete the topic, that was the special powers of Rajya Sabha. Because of internet issue, the class stopped. So first let us complete the special powers of Rajya Sabha, then we can start with the new topic. But as you can see that right now on the board Supreme Court and High Court is mentioned. So let us start with the Supreme Court and High Court, and then we can start with the another topic, that is state legislature. Okay, so okay, so in the last class we were discussing about the special powers of Rajya Sabha. Special powers of Rajya Sabha. Okay, so in the special powers of Rajya Sabha, we understood that there are two special powers of Rajya Sabha. The first was under Article 249 and the second was under Article 312. So in the last class I explained the Article 249, that what is Article 249, and let me repeat it. Under Article 249, the Rajya Sabha has the power that it can pass a resolution on a state subject in the national interest by the majority of not less than 2/3 of the members present and voting in the House. If such a resolution is passed by the Rajya Sabha, then the implication of this resolution will be the Parliament will be authorized to make a law on the state list. See, we have already discussed that under some extraordinary circumstances, the Parliament can make laws on the state subject. Now, this is one such circumstance where the Parliament can make a law on the state subject. But the limitation with the resolution of the Rajya Sabha is that the resolution remains in force for 1 year and the law will remain in force for 1.5 years, because the law cannot continue for more than 6 months from the date of expiration of that resolution. Okay, so with this, Article 249 is over, and now let us see Article 312. So Article 312 says that if Rajya Sabha passes a resolution in the national interest by the same majority, a majority of not less than 2/3 of the members present and voting in the House, if the Rajya Sabha passes a resolution in the national interest by this majority which I discussed, then the Parliament becomes authorized to establish a service which will be common to both center and states, and the services which are common to both center and states are called as all India services. So basically Article 312 deals with the establishment of all India services, deals with the establishment of all India services. Okay, so all India services are common to both center and states. Okay, so in order to establish an all India service, Rajya Sabha needs to pass a resolution, because these services will also be affecting the state government. And at present we have 3 all India services. The 3 all India services are IAS, IPS, and third is IFS. Now here IFS is basically Indian Forest Service and not Indian Foreign Service. Okay, now why I am saying that these services are all India services, because these services are common to both center and state. See, the authority over the all India services is with the central government. The central government appoints them, trains them, and the posting is also in the hands of center, and also that power to transfer, dismiss, all these powers are with the center. So the center has the authority to appoint the all India services members, to remove them, to transfer, all these powers are with the center. But being an all India service member, you are not going to give your services only to the center. All India services give their service not only to center but also to the states. For example, IAS officer is a central government employee, but IAS officer gives his services to the states in the form of SDM, DM, Chief Secretary. So these services are common to both center and states, and that's why we are calling them as all India services. So I hope you understood that why all India services are common to center and states, because their services can be utilized by the center as well as by the states. Okay. So this was the special powers of Rajya Sabha, and now ideally we were supposed to start the state legislature, but because of some miscommunication, as I can see, in fact, I also noticed that the topic is Supreme Court and High Court. So first of all, let us start Supreme Court and High Court. And once we finish this topic, Supreme Court and High Court, then we can start with the state legislature. Okay. So let us start Supreme Court and High Court. Supreme Court and High Court. Okay. But I believe that instead of starting, the proper sequence is that after Parliament we should finish the topic state legislature. So I will do one thing. I will start with the state legislature topic because I realized that it will just disturb the sequence which I have established. Okay, so let us start the state legislature. There was no issue in starting the topic Supreme Court and High Court, but the fact was that after Parliament, the next logical topic is the state legislature. And why I am saying this, because the Parliament is the union legislature and this is the state legislature. Parliament make laws for the entire country or for a part of the country, whereas the state legislature performs the same function but for a particular state to which this state legislature belongs. Okay, so first of all, let us start this topic state legislature. The state legislature topic is under part 6 of the Constitution. And articles are from 168 to 212. Okay. So now, first of all, let us compare the Parliament and state legislature. See, Parliament also called as Union Legislature. Union Legislature. And on the other side, we will write state legislature. Now remember, the similarity between the two is that the Parliament is also a legislature, whereas this is also a legislature. So both are law-making bodies. But the difference is that the Parliament can make laws for the entire country or for a part of it, whereas the state legislature can make law for that particular state to which it belongs. But when it comes to the structure is similar. See, the Parliament consists of three. The first is Lok Sabha. The second is Rajya Sabha, and the third is President of India. Okay. Now, state legislature also consists of two houses. The first is the Legislative Assembly, which is similar to Lok Sabha. The first is Legislative Assembly, which is similar to Lok Sabha. The second is Legislative Council, which is similar to Rajya Sabha, and the third is similar to the president, and that is governor. Now you can see, Lok Sabha represents the people of India. If Lok Sabha represents the people of India, then Legislative Assembly represents the people of that state. Okay, we are not going to compare Rajya Sabha with Legislative Council because Rajya Sabha represents the states of the country, whereas Legislative Council doesn't represent these states. Legislative Council basically represents a section. For example, few seats in the Legislative Council are for the MLA. Few seats, on those seats, MLA votes, whereas few seats are for teachers, graduates, and local bodies. So, Legislative Council does not represent the state. It actually represents the section. For example, it represents graduate. 1/12 of the seats of Legislative Council is for the graduates. 1/12 seats are for the teachers. Graduates cast vote on the 1/12 seat. Teachers cast vote on 1/12 seat. So we will understand that what is the distribution of the seats in the Legislative Council. So we are not going to compare, but yes, the comparison can be that Rajya Sabha is the upper house, Legislative Council is also the upper house. Okay. One more thing, when it comes to the terms of members of Rajya Sabha, the same is the case with the Legislative Council. Even in Legislative Council, the terms of the members is 6 years, and after every 2 years, 1/3 of its member retire. So on these things, on these grounds, both houses are similar. But when it comes to the representation, no, we cannot compare Rajya Sabha with Legislative Council. Now we all know that we can compare president with governor. Why? President is the head of the state. Similarly, governor is also the head of the state of that particular state. Now, president is a nominal executive. Similarly, governor is also a nominal executive. The bill passed by the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha becomes a law only when it receives the assent of the president. Same is the case in the state legislature. When the bill passed by these two houses is sent to the governor, once it receives the assent of the governor, then it becomes a law. So when it comes to the functioning, both are similar. The only difference is the jurisdiction. Okay. Now finally we understood the relation between the parliament and state legislature, and why I was saying that after parliament we should start the state legislature. It was because of this fact that we can compare these two. Now starting with the topic state legislature. So first we will discuss that state legislature consists of what. So just now we have seen the state legislature consists of legislative assembly. It consists of legislative assembly, legislative council, governor. Okay. But remember, in India we have 28 states, and out of the 28 states, this structure is present only in 6 states. So in 6 states you will find that there is legislative assembly, legislative council and governor. But what about the remaining 22 states? So in the remaining 22 states you will find that there is the legislative assembly, and there is the governor. So it means in the remaining 22 states, you will not find the legislative council. The legislative council is present only in 6 states. So what all things we can infer from this is, the first, that the state legislature consists of at least 2, legislative assembly and governor. So in a state legislature, the minimum is the legislative assembly and the governor, and the maximum is legislative assembly, legislative council and the governor. So can I say that for making a law, at least legislative assembly and governor are required? Okay, so it means that even without the legislative council, the laws can be made in a state. As you can see that in these 22 states, there is no legislative council, but still these 22 states are able to make laws. So it means even without legislative council, the states are capable of making laws. So it simply means for making law in the state, you just require legislative assembly and governor. So it means even without the legislative council, the laws can be made in the state. So then question arises, then why these states have legislative council? Now it all depends upon the wish of the state, and that we will discuss separately, that why the legislative council is there in these states. What is the procedure to establish a legislative council in a particular state? But right now what you can see, and if you want to draw, you can draw that out of 28 states, only 6 states have legislative council and the remaining 22 states have no legislative council. It means at least legislative assembly and governor should be there. Okay, now one more thing. Obviously the logical question is, so what are these 6 states in which we will find legislative council? So the answer is these 6 states where you will find legislative council is, first is Uttar Pradesh, the second is Bihar, the third is Maharashtra, fourth is Karnataka, fifth is Telangana, and the last is Andhra Pradesh. Now these are the 6 states. Before 2019, there were total 7 states, because Jammu Kashmir also had a legislative council, but when Jammu Kashmir was made a union territory, then the legislative council was removed from the Jammu and Kashmir. So right now we have 6 states, earlier there were 7 states. Now when it comes to the distribution of seats, the highest number of seats in the legislative council is in the state of Uttar Pradesh, 100, and the lowest in the state of Telangana. In Andhra Pradesh earlier it was 50, but now it is 58. Then in Maharashtra it is 78, and in Bihar and Karnataka it is 75. Okay, so this is the distribution of seats in the legislative council. Okay, and only these states are there, these 6 states. Okay, you just draw this particular thing because let me ask about the confusion. I mean, today we were actually supposed to start the state legislature, and I am just saying that there is Supreme Court and High Court written. So just let me see what is the confusion. Okay. Okay. So I discussed the issue. They said that they will just update right now. Supreme Court and High Court is written. It will be updated to the state legislature. Okay. So I hope you all understood that in how many states we have we have legislative council. Now, why these 6 states have legislative council, and what is the procedures to establish legislative council in any state? So, in order to understand the procedure for establishing legislative council, we need to understand Article 169. So, what is Article 169? Article 169 deals with the abolition or creation of legislative council. Now, this particular article is also important. So, even if you do not remember the procedure for establishing legislative council, you must at least remember the article number, that is Article 169. And now let us see what is the procedure. Okay, let us take an example of any random state. Okay, let us draw a random state of this country. Let us assume that this state is the state of Rajasthan. Okay, so we all know Rajasthan is not among those 6 states. So Rajasthan is among those 22 states where there is no legislative council. So we all know in any state there should be at least legislative assembly and governor for making a law. Okay, so we have taken the example of Rajasthan where there are legislative assembly and governor. Now suppose Rajasthan wants that there should be a legislative council in its state. So what is the procedure? So under Article 169, you will find that the first step for the establishment of legislative council is that whichever state is interested in the legislative council, that particular state should pass a resolution. Okay, so in our case, Rajasthan wants a legislative council. So the first step is that the Legislative Assembly of Rajasthan must initiate the procedure. So the procedure is initiated by the state and not by the center. So if Rajasthan is interested, then the Legislative Assembly of Rajasthan will pass a resolution. Now in this resolution, it is mentioned that the state of Rajasthan is interested in having a legislative council. Now this resolution should be passed by a special majority. And this is the same special majority under Article 368 of the Constitution. Now, once the resolution is passed by the Legislative Assembly of Rajasthan, then the second step, according to Article 169, is now it will be the turn of Parliament. Now, Parliament will pass a bill. Now, in this bill, it is mentioned that there will be a Legislative Council for the state of Rajasthan, and this bill should be passed by simple majority. And once the bill is passed by simple majority, it becomes a law, and then we can see the legislative council in the state of Rajasthan. So what is the procedure to establish legislative council? Did I ever mention that population is the criteria for establishing legislative council? No, I never mentioned that because of the population, the Rajasthan wants that its state should have a legislative council. No, I never said this. Similarly, there are no other grounds. For example, you cannot say that because of the workload, Rajasthan wants a legislative council. So there is no such condition that why a state wants a legislative council. If a state thinks that it should have the second house, then it can go for it. There is no conditions associated with the establishment of legislative council. I mean, there is no logic of the area of the state, population of the state, or workload in the state. It all depends upon the wish of the state. If the Legislative Assembly is interested in having the second in the second house, then they may go for it. Okay, so there is no condition for it. So yes, these are the steps to establish the Legislative Council in a state. Now, what will happen if Rajasthan, after 10 years or 20 years down the line, they start thinking that there is no need of legislative council? Because we all know that even without the legislative council, it is possible to make laws for a particular state. So what happens that after 20 years down the line, Rajasthan thinks that there is no need of legislative council, it is just waste, it's just a waste of money. So what will happen? The Rajasthan can go for the abolition of legislative council, because under the same article, the creation as well as abolition of legislative council is mentioned. So how to abolish a legislative council? So if we really want to abolish a legislative council, then we must follow the same procedure. It means the procedures to establish a legislative council and the procedure to abolish a legislative council, both are same. Okay, so it means if a particular state wants to abolish legislative council, then the procedure for abolition will be initiated by the Legislative Assembly of the concerned state. The Legislative Assembly of the concerned state will pass a resolution, and now this time in this resolution will mention that we do not want a legislative council, we want its abolition. This resolution will be passed by special majority, and once it is passed by special majority, then the next step is the Parliament passing a bill for the abolition of legislative council by simple majority, and once the bill is passed, the legislative council is abolished. Okay, so what you have to remember is that the procedure to establish or abolish a legislative council is same, and if the procedure is same, then can we argue that it is always the Legislative Assembly which initiate the procedure? Parliament alone cannot initiate the procedure for abolition or creation of legislative council. It is in the hands of Legislative Assembly. But if I ask who has the power to establish legislative council, then remember, Legislative Assembly has the power to initiate the procedure, but the power to establish legislative council is not with the Legislative Assembly, it is with the Parliament. So can I say the Legislative Council is abolished or created by a law of the Parliament, subject to the resolution passed by the State Legislative Assembly in this direction by special majority. So I hope you understood that who has the power to establish the Legislative Council and who has the power to initiate the procedure. Both are different in this case. Okay, and let me take an example of Madhya Pradesh, because Madhya Pradesh is a special case. Why Madhya Pradesh is special in this case? See, by the 7th Constitutional Amendment Act of 1956, there is a provision for establishment of Legislative Council for the state of Madhya Pradesh. So as per 7th Constitutional Amendment Act, there should be a Legislative Council in the state of Madhya Pradesh. Okay, so according to Constitution, Madhya Pradesh is entitled to have a Legislative Council, but this amendment was passed in 1956. So since 1956, there is a provision for Legislative Council for the state of Madhya Pradesh, but to till date, there is no such notification by the President in this regard for the establishment of Legislative Council in the state of Madhya Pradesh. So now the two things are different. In the Constitution, there is the provision for the Legislative Council of Madhya Pradesh, but in reality, you will not find Legislative Council in the state of Madhya Pradesh. It only has the Legislative Assembly. It is unicameral. Okay, why? Simply because the President has not issued the notification, and the fact is that even Madhya Pradesh is not interested in having Legislative Council. Because if Madhya Pradesh was really interested in having Legislative Council, then he could have asked the President that you please establish the Legislative Council in our state. Because at present we can see that BJP is in the state Madhya Pradesh and as well as in the center, so it is very easy at present to establish Legislative Council in the Madhya Pradesh, because the same party is ruling both the center and the state. So as I said that establishing Legislative Council is an expensive thing, okay, because you have to pay the salary, pension of the members of Legislative Council. So it doesn't make any sense, because their actual work is nothing. Okay, they are just like the second chamber, and here the second chamber is not like the Rajya Sabha where we can find the provision of joint sitting. the Legislative Council is much weaker than the Rajya Sabha. So you cannot compare the two. Okay, so that is why Madhya Pradesh has not insisted on establishing a Legislative Council in its state. So this was the procedure to establish Legislative Council, and now we will start with the difference between the Legislative Assembly and Legislative Council. So let us see what is the difference. Okay. Now understand that first we will start with the duration. See, in the parliament, we first started the duration of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. So similarly, we will start now the duration of Legislative Assembly, Legislative Council, and here you will find the similarity. Now, what is the duration of Legislative Assembly? Let me compare this with Lok Sabha. You know what is the normal duration of Lok Sabha? The normal duration of Lok Sabha is 5 years, and we discussed that the 5 years is the normal life of Lok Sabha. So the normal life of Lok Sabha is 5 years, which can be extended during national emergency for 1 year at a time, for any length of time. So during national emergency, I can extend the life of Lok Sabha beyond 5 years, and on the recommendation of Prime Minister, the President can dissolve the Lok Sabha in between these 5 years. Okay, so 0 means when it was established. So from the day of establishment to the 5 years, to the completion of 5 years, the Lok Sabha can be dissolved by the President on the recommendation of PM. But here we can simply write the Legislative Assembly can be dissolved on the recommendation of CM. Now you should not be confused. The fact is, both the duration of Lok Sabha and Legislative Assembly is same. Why? See, the normal life of Lok Sabha is 5 years. Similarly, the normal life of Legislative Assembly is 5 years. Okay, both have normal lives of 5 years. Second, Lok Sabha can be extended beyond the period of 5 years during national emergency. Similarly, the life of Legislative Assembly can also be extended in the same pattern during national emergency. If Lok Sabha can be dissolved sooner before the completion of 5 years, similarly, Legislative Assembly can also be dissolved sooner before the completion of 5 years, but there the President will dissolve on the recommendation of PM. Here the Governor will dissolve on the recommendation of CM. So whatever we understood in the chapter Lok Sabha, the same we have to apply in the case of in the Legislative Assembly. So now the final answer is the normal life of Legislative Assembly is 5 years, which can be extended during national emergency by a law of Parliament for 1 year at a time for any length of time, and the Legislative Assembly can be dissolved sooner by the Governor on the recommendation of Chief Minister. Okay, so whatever we saw in the chapter Lok Sabha, the same we are writing in case of Legislative Assembly, because the duration of both the house is same. Okay, now what about the duration of Legislative Council? Now here you will find the similarity. When it comes to the duration of Legislative Council, it is similar to Rajya Sabha in terms of duration. See, the Legislative Council is a permanent chamber. It means unless it is abolished completely under Article 169, it will remain there. Okay, it is not like Legislative Assembly, which is subject to dissolution after 5 years or 6 years. So here you will find the similarity. Similar to Rajya Sabha, Legislative Council cannot be dissolved. It is not subject to dissolution. Okay, and it is a permanent chamber, continuing chamber, and it exists so long it is not abolished completely by the Parliament under Article 169. So the duration of Legislative Council is simple. There is no duration of Legislative Council, but the duration of the members of Legislative Council is 6 years, similar to Rajya Sabha. We have seen that in Rajya Sabha the tenure of members of Rajya Sabha is 6 years. Here is also the same, 6 years. And we have seen that in Rajya Sabha, after every 2 years, 1/3 of its member retire. That is called the order of retirement of Rajya Sabha. The same case is applicable in the Legislative Council. So it means even in the Legislative Council we have the same pattern: order of retirement of Legislative Council. So what is the order? After every 2 years, 1/3 members of Legislative Council retires. Okay, so it is same what we studied in Rajya Sabha. Okay, so I hope you understood that what are the similarities between Lok Sabha and Legislative Assembly and Rajya Sabha and Legislative Council. When it comes to duration, both are similar. Parliament and Legislature both are similar in terms of duration. Now, after duration, let us discuss about the election. Who participates in the election of Legislative Assembly and Legislative Council? Okay, see, when it comes to the election of Legislative Assembly, it is similar to the Lok Sabha. It means, see, in Lok Sabha, who participates in the election? We participate in the election. The general public participates in the election. All those who are of 18 years or above are eligible to vote in the election of Legislative Assembly. It is similar to the Lok Sabha. Okay. So in Legislative Assembly, we will simply write that all those who are of 18 years or above are eligible to vote in the election of Legislative Assembly, similar to Lok Sabha. And we all know this is called as Universal Adult Franchise. Universal Adult Franchise. And one more thing that you will find similar is the method of election. So in Lok Sabha, the method of election was first past the post. The same is in the case of Legislative Assembly. The method of election of Legislative Assembly is same. First past the post. Okay. Both Lok Sabha and Legislative Assembly have the same method of election. Now, what about the Rajya Sabha? In Rajya Sabha, in Legislative Council. Now, who will participate in the election of Legislative Council? Now, in order to understand who is going to participate in the election of Legislative Council, it is actually simple, but for this we need to divide the number of seats in the Legislative Council. Now, what is the number of seats in the Legislative Council? Okay, first, let us assume that Legislative Council consists of 1. Okay, we can assume the total number of seats. Yes, unknown user, this is your ID. See, the fact is, today we have to actually start with the state legislature topic, but the fact is, by mistake, they have mentioned Supreme Court and High Court. So, actually, after Parliament, I already discussed that we will start the next topic, state legislature. So, here you will find that there is Supreme Court and High Court mentioned, but we are actually starting the state legislature. Because, okay, so but after the completion of state legislature, we can start with Supreme Court and High Court. So, today we are discussing the state legislature. Basically the difference between the Legislative Assembly and Legislative Council. Okay, so now, and we will update this thumbnail, okay, where you will find Supreme Court High Court. We will update it to state legislature. Now, what about the election of Legislative Council? So, to understand this, what we can do, we can assume the total number of seats. We can assume the total number of seats of Legislative Council to 1. Okay, so we have considered the total strength of Legislative Council as 1. Now, can we write 1 as 5 by 6 plus 1 by 6? So, we have divided the total number of seats of Legislative Council into 5 by 6 and 1 by 6. Now, remember, on these 5 by 6, there will be election. And on these 1 by 6 seats, there will be nomination. Now, nomination will be done by the governor. See, in Rajya Sabha, there are 12 seats on which there is nomination. In Legislative Council, there are total 1 by 6 seats on which there is a nomination, and the nomination is by the governor of the state. Now, on what grounds the nominations are held? See, 4 are similar: science, arts, literature, and social service. So, these 4 grounds are same as in the case of Rajya Sabha. Now, the next ground is cooperative societies. Sorry, not cooperative societies, it is cooperative movement. Okay, see, now if you are still not able to understand, let me explain. In Rajya Sabha, we have 12 seats where there is nomination by the president, okay, and the nomination is from the 4 categories: science, art, literature and social service. But in the case of legislative council, instead of 12, we have 1/6 seats of the total strength where there will be nomination by the governor on these from these 5 categories. So in Rajya Sabha there are only 4 categories from which there should be nomination, but in legislative council there are total 5 categories. The 4 are same: science, art, literature, social service. The 5th one is different, which is not in the case of Rajya Sabha, and it is the cooperative movement. So we have to remember these 5 categories for the nomination in the case of legislative council. Now we all know that on 1/6 seats there will be nomination from these 5 categories, and on 5/6 there will be election. Now who will participate in the election? Okay, so we can simply write 5/6 as 1/3 plus 1/3 plus 1/12 plus 1/12. Okay, now what we can do? Now start dividing. See, on 1/3 seats of legislative council, who votes? The members of legislative assembly, MLA. See, the members of legislative assembly are called as MLA, and the members of legislative council are called as MLC. The members of legislative councils are called as MLC, and the members of legislative assembly are called as MLA. Remember, MLA and MLC both are called as Vidhayak. I know you must have you must have heard the term Vidhayak. Okay, whenever you hear the term Vidhayak and Sansad, see, why I'm saying Sansad Vidhayak, because you must have heard this in news or even through someone that he is the Vidhayak of that state, he is the Sansad. So whenever you hear the word Vidhayak, Vidhayak means member of state legislature, and Vidhayaks can be of two types. First, MLA and MLC. MLA and MLC both are collectively called as Vidhayak. Okay, so for example, in the state of Uttar Pradesh, you will find Vidhayak, MLA and MLC, because in Uttar Pradesh there is bicameralism. So in Uttar Pradesh you will find MLA as well as MLCs. Okay, so in Uttar Pradesh the Vidhayak includes both MLA and MLC, but in the state of Madhya Pradesh, Vidhayak means only MLA because there is no legislative council, hence there will be no MLC. Okay, so the 1/3 seats of legislative council is elected by the members of that legislative assembly. Now remaining 1/3 seats are elected by the members of the local bodies. For example, Parishad. Parishad in English is called as councillor. Okay, so 1/3 seats are elected by the local bodies member. Now on 1/12 seats, who will vote? Teachers will vote, and on 1/12 seats, graduates are going to vote. Okay, so in the legislative council, who all cast vote? First, MLA elects 1/3 seats. Members of local bodies elect 1/3 seats. Teachers elect 1/12 seats, and graduates elect 1/12 seats. Okay, so you must remember who all participates in the election of legislative council. Okay, now in the case of Rajya Sabha, what we studied, that only the elected MLA participate in the election of Rajya Sabha. So in the case of Rajya Sabha, the answer was simple: elected MLA participates in the election. But here you will find that apart from MLAs, teachers, graduates and local bodies members also participate in the election. Okay, so this is the election of legislative council. And now what about the method of election? So the method of election is similar or same as what we have seen in Rajya Sabha. So the method of election for legislative council is same what was for Rajya Sabha. A system of proportional representation. System of proportional representation by means of single transferable vote. Now this is the method, and the same method is in the case of Rajya Sabha. Okay, so this is the method for legislative council, and that is the method for legislative assembly. And what we have seen the election, that who all participate in the election of legislative council. See, it is easier to understand the election of legislative assembly because it is same as we have seen in the case of Rajya Sabha, Lok Sabha. But for legislative council, you will find that there is complication. And why there is complication? Because the kind of voting system they have, not voting system, but MLA, local bodies, teachers, and graduates all are going to participate. That too on 1/3, 1/3, 1/12, 1/12. So that is confusing for the student. Okay. So after the election, now we will understand the number of seats in the legislative assembly and legislative council. So how many seats are there in the legislative assembly? Okay. Now remember, in the case of Lok Sabha, I mentioned that the maximum strength of Lok Sabha is 550, and the present strength of Lok Sabha is 543. Okay, but for legislative assembly, I cannot say that the maximum strength of legislative assembly is this, and at present we have this. See, legislative assembly is present in all the states. There can be no state without legislative assembly. Legislative assembly is mandatory in all the states because all these states have a proper government, and the government has 3 organs and 1 organ is the legislature. So the presence of legislative assembly is mandatory in all these states. Now, the number of seats in the legislative assembly depends upon the population of that state. So in Uttar Pradesh, we will see the highest population in this country. Okay, so highest population in any state is in the state of Uttar Pradesh. So there you will find the highest number of seats in the legislative assembly. So it all depends upon the population of the state. So it means I cannot give you a particular number. I cannot write a particular number to show that this is the strength of legislative assembly. The strength of legislative assembly varies from state to state depending upon the population of the state. So for example, the northeastern state. In the northeastern states, you will find that they do not have a high population. Okay, they have low population. Okay, so because of this, they have less number of seats. Okay, so in the case of legislative assembly, what we can write is the maximum and minimum. We can write a range. Okay, the range is in any legislative assembly, it cannot be more than 500 and cannot be less than 60. Okay, so the strength of legislative assembly should be between maximum and minimum. So this is the range mentioned in the constitution, that the number of seats in a state should be not more than 500 and not less than 60. Now, the highest number of seats is in the state of Uttar Pradesh because of highest population, and that is 403, which is again not going to breach the maximum limit. But when it comes to 60, you will find exception because there are few states where you will find that the population is not even enough to give them 60 seats. So there are few exceptions of minimum. Now what are the exceptions? Arunachal Pradesh, Sikkim, Goa. So for all these, the minimum is 30. Remember, I have written the minimum. You should not consider this as the present strength of the legislative assembly of these states. What you will find that in Arunachal Pradesh, there are total 60 seats. And in fact, in Goa and Sikkim, you will find more than 30 seats. In Goa, there are 40 seats. In Sikkim, there are around 32 seats. And in Arunachal Pradesh, there are total 60 seats. So you should not confuse this with 30. 30 is the minimum strength in these states. So the minimum seats in these states can be 30. But at present, they all have more than 30 seats. So 30 is not the number of seats in these states. It is the minimum number that can be for these states. See, for a normal state, it cannot be less than 60. But for these states, it can be less than 60. And their minimum is 30 for these states. Now, there are more exceptions. Mizoram. For Mizoram, the minimum is 40, and for Nagaland, the minimum is 46. But if you will search on the internet, you will find that they all have more than 40, 46 and 30 seats. Okay, so these are just the exceptions of the minimum, because in general the minimum is 60 and they have less than 60 as per the constitution. Okay, so this was for Legislative Assembly. And now what about the Legislative Council? So for Legislative Council, again we can write in the same manner, maximum and minimum. Okay, so what is the maximum for Legislative Council? The maximum for Legislative Council is the 1/3 of the Legislative Assembly of that state. 1/3 of the Legislative Assembly of that state. Now suppose there are total 300 seats in the Legislative Assembly of a particular state. So in that state, if there is a Legislative Council, then that Legislative Council cannot have more than 100 seats. Why? Because the maximum number of seats in any Legislative Council cannot be more than 1/3 of the total strength of Legislative Assembly. So as I said, if a state has 300 seats in the Legislative Assembly, then the maximum number of seats in that Legislative Council will be 100. Okay, and the minimum is set at 40. Okay, so the maximum strength is 1/3 of the Legislative Assembly and the minimum strength is 40. Okay, and there is no exception. Earlier there was exception. Before 2019, Jammu Kashmir was an exception. Why? Because in the state of Jammu Kashmir, the Legislative Council had 36 seats and the minimum is 40. So that is why before 2019, what we used to explain was the exception of 40 is Jammu and Kashmir, where there are total 36 seats in the Legislative Council. Okay, so earlier Jammu Kashmir was exception, but now it doesn't have any Legislative Council, so that is why we do not have any exception at present for the 40 minimum. Okay, but for minimum in the case of Legislative Assembly, yes, we have 5 states which fall in the minimum category, I mean exception category. Okay, so finally we are done with the Legislative Assembly and Legislative Council. I mean the difference between the Legislative Assembly and Legislative Council. Now what about the qualification of members of Legislative Assembly and Legislative Council? See, the qualification are simple, and the most important qualification that you must remember is related to age. See, to become a member of Lok Sabha, the minimum age is 25 years. The same is the case with Legislative Assembly. So both Lok Sabha and Legislative Assembly, they both have minimum age 25 years. And in the case of Rajya Sabha and Legislative Council, you will find minimum age is 30 years. So for Lok Sabha and Legislative Assembly, the minimum age is 25 years. And for Legislative Council and Rajya Sabha, the minimum age is 30 years. And there is no maximum limit, or there is no maximum age to become a member of Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, Legislative Assembly or Legislative Council. Okay, there is no maximum, there is only minimum 25 and 30. And one more thing, we can become a member of Lok Sabha from any part of India. Same is the case with Rajya Sabha. I can become a member of Parliament from any part of this country, any part. It doesn't matter whether I am a registered voter in that state or not. So suppose I am a registered voter in the state of Madhya Pradesh, but I can become a member of Lok Sabha from Assam, Manipur, Jammu and Kashmir, Madras, Bombay. I can become a member of Lok Sabha from any part of the country. Okay, though I am a registered voter in the state of Madhya Pradesh, but I can become a member of Parliament either in the Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha from any state of the country or from any part of the country. But when it comes to the Legislative Assembly, Legislative Council, this is not the case. To become a member of Legislative Assembly or Legislative Council, you have to be a registered voter in that particular state. Now I am a registered voter in the state of Madhya Pradesh, so I cannot become a member of State Legislature of Uttar Pradesh or of Bihar or of Tamil Nadu or Mumbai or Maharashtra. No, because a condition for becoming a member of State Legislature is that I should be a registered voter or registered elector in that particular state from which I want to contest election. So if I want to contest election of MLA from the state of Uttar Pradesh, then I must be a registered voter or elector in the state of Uttar Pradesh. But the problem with me is that I am a registered voter in the case of, I am a registered voter from the state of Madhya Pradesh, not from Uttar Pradesh. Okay, so that is fine. This is the limitation, and the same is for everyone. Okay, so to become a member of State Legislature, you have to be a registered elector in that particular state. Okay, so you cannot become MLA from any part of the country, but you can become an MP from any part of the country. So this particular thing you should remember. And when it comes to the disqualification, all the disqualifications same. For member of Parliament, the most important disqualification was that he should not hold any office of profit. If a member of Parliament holds an office of profit, then he will be disqualified. The same is the case with the member of state legislature. If a member of state legislature holds an office of profit, then he will also be disqualified. Okay. Now, what about the other disqualification? All other disqualifications are same. Bankrupt, unsound mind, not a citizen of India. Okay. These all disqualifications are same. And one more thing. You remember that under Article 103, we studied that all matters related to the disputes of, all matters related to disqualification of members of parliament are decided by the president on the recommendation or on the advice of election commission. I hope you all remember that we studied this under Article 103. See, in the chapter Parliament, we studied Article 102, and that was the disqualification of members of parliament. And in Article 103, we studied that what will happen whenever a question arises related to the disqualification of members of parliament. So under Article 103, all the questions related to disqualification are decided by the president on the advice of election commission. Now, when it comes to the question of disqualification of members of state legislature, what Constitution says? Constitution says that all questions related to the matters of disqualification of members of state legislature, the question shall be decided by the governor on the advice of election commission. So in both the cases, the election commission is going to advise the president and governor for the disqualification of members of parliament and members of legislature respectively. So I hope you understood the similarity, that there the president will decide the question related to disqualification, and here the governor will decide the question related to disqualification. And one more important thing, that we have seen that in the parliament, if there is a dispute between the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, there is a joint sitting provision. But in the case of state legislature, you won't find any provision for joint sitting, because first of all, it is not necessary that you will find legislative council in all these states. There are only 6 states at present where you will find legislative council. And remember, the legislative council is far more weaker than Rajya Sabha. It means when I will explain that how a bill is passed from the state legislature, there you will understand that the position of legislative council is far weaker compared to the legislative assembly. This was not the case with Rajya Sabha. Rajya Sabha at many places was similar to Lok Sabha in terms of power. Only in few cases Lok Sabha had upper edge, but here you will find in the state legislature that legislative council has no upper hand, because legislative council is at the mercy of legislative assembly. We have seen under Article 169 that the legislative assembly also has the authority to abolish the legislative council if it passes a resolution and parliament passes a bill for the abolition of legislative council. So it basically means that if legislative council tries to delay a bill and it tries to disrupt the functioning of the state legislature, ideally it doesn't have the power. But if suppose this happens, that the legislative council is trying to disrupt the functioning or procedure of the legislative assembly or the state legislature in general, then the legislative assembly can pass a resolution for the abolition of legislative council. So legislative council is at the mercy of legislative assembly. So that is why it doesn't have the powers similar or same as that of legislative assembly. Okay, so but this was not in the case of Rajya Sabha. Rajya Sabha is a permanent chamber. It is not subject to dissolution, nor it can be abolished, because presence of the second house at the center, it reflects the federalism. See, the federalism is a part of basic structure of the constitution, and the bicameralism is a feature of the federal feature of the constitution. While explaining the federal features of the constitution, I explained that bicameralism is a feature of the federal part of the constitution. Why federal feature? Because in bicameralism, there is Rajya Sabha, which represents the interest of the states. Rajya Sabha protects the interest of states, and that is why it is the federal feature of the constitution. So we cannot abolish Rajya Sabha, because federalism is a part of basic structure of the constitution, and that is why we can never abolish Rajya Sabha. But that same thing is not in the case of states. So that is why legislative council can be abolished easily. Okay, because there is no issue of federalism in the case of states. The issue of federalism comes only when it is about the center and states, not within the states. Okay, so that is why, and not today but tomorrow, I will explain the procedure, that how a bill is passed from both the houses of parliament. And while explaining the procedure, you will automatically understand that why there is no use of legislative council. Legislative council is just a delaying chamber. It can delay a bill for a maximum period of 4 months. But how that 4 months is calculated, that we will see when the procedure is explained in the next class. Okay, so today we will complete till this this part, and tomorrow we will start with the remaining portion of state legislature, and that is the procedure to pass a bill from the state legislature, and then we can start with Supreme Court and High Court. Okay, so thank you everyone. We will meet most probably on tomorrow. Okay, I'm not sure whether tomorrow there will be any class or not. Okay, there are less chances that I will take the class on tomorrow. I mean, tomorrow I won't take class. I'm not sure about that. Okay, but let us see. You will see the notification. I hope you all have subscribed the channel, or for all those who are watching and will be watching this. Okay, so thank you everyone. We'll meet in the next class. Okay, goodbye everyone. Good night.